She found me tonight. 5 years. 5 years of silence, of pretending the world had moved on. And then, there she was, standing outside the small cabin I built at the edge of the woods, rain pressing against her hair like it wanted to wash her clean. Her voice trembled when she said my name. Ethan. I didn't answer. I only looked at her, at the faint scar above her lip, the one that hadn't been there before, and the ring she no longer wore. Behind her a car idled. Headlights sliced through the dark, illuminating the ghost of the woman I used to love. She took a hesitant step forward, and then her eyes shifted, just slightly, to the figure standing behind me. That's when her smile died. I saw it drain from her face, the same way the color had drained from mine that day. The day she laughed as I gasped for air, choking on the nuts she'd hidden in my food. My birthday dinner turned execution. They called it a prank. She laughed. They all did. Then they drove off shouting, "Good luck, birthday boy!" I never saw them again. Until now. It was supposed to be funny. That's what they told the police later, that it was a joke gone wrong. But I remembered their faces that night. The way her sister, Mia, had smirked when I asked what was in the cake. How my wife, Sarah, had said, "Just try it. Don't be such a coward." The first bite was betrayal disguised as frosting. The second was death. I woke up 2 days later in a hospital bed, throat burned, vision blurred. The doctor said I was lucky. My throat had closed faster than my heart could stop. Lucky. Sarah never visited. Her message came 3 days later. "I'm sorry, I didn't know it was that serious." She knew. She had watched me inject epinephrine countless times before. It wasn't ignorance, it was control. A test to see how far she could push before I broke. When I walked out of that hospital, I left everything behind. Our house, the photos, the marriage license. I erased myself from her life. And for years, I imagined that was enough. Until last week, when a letter arrived. No return address, just one line inside. "You should have died that night." I didn't go to the police. I didn't respond. Instead, I started watching. A habit I'd learned from her, quiet observation. I traced the letter's postmark to a small town 3 states away, a florist's shop near a school across from a bakery. And there she was, Sarah, older, thinner, still beautiful in that way venom sometimes is. She was alone, no ring, no sisters in sight. I watched for days. Her routine was predictable. Work, groceries, home. She'd pause sometimes near the riverbank, staring into the current like it whispered secrets. On the 7th day, I followed her inside the cafe. She didn't recognize me, not yet. She was laughing with someone, Mia. The sight of them together again was enough to still my breathing. They hadn't changed. The same cruel mirth, the same whispered jokes behind raised cups. But there was something different in Mia's eyes, a fear she couldn't quite hide. Her hands trembled when Sarah wasn't looking, and that's when I knew. Something had fractured between them. I left quietly. Later that night, I found Mia's address. Her obituary came 3 days after. Sudden allergic reaction, the report said. Sarah showed up 2 days later. The rain followed her. She stood on my porch, shaking, clutching a crumpled photograph, Mia and me, from years ago, before the wedding. Her voice broke when she said, Did you do this?" I didn't answer. She stepped closer, her breath fogging in the cold air. "Ethan, please." She was my sister. I tilted my head. "You said the same when I almost died." Silence. The wind carried the smell of wet pine and fear. She stared at the man behind me, the one she hadn't noticed until now, the paramedic, the one who had saved my life that night. He looked at her with recognition, with disgust, and in his hand, An envelope. Her handwriting. Her seal. The same letter I'd received. Her face fell apart as realization set in. She'd sent the letter. She just hadn't known it would come back to her. I stepped closer, closing the space between us until she could smell the memory of what she'd done. "Why?" I asked. Her voice was a whisper. "It was supposed to be a joke. We thought—" I cut her off. "You thought you could play with someone's fear and call it love?" Tears welled, but I didn't believe them. She'd used tears before, tools sharpened for sympathy. I handed her the envelope. She opened it. Inside was a photo, her sister, Mia, pale, lifeless, and a note written beneath in the same ink she'd used to threaten me. Poetic justice has a taste, too. She looked up at me, horror stretching across her face. "You didn't have to." "I didn't," I said quietly. "She did it to herself." Nuts in the chocolate mousse. Old habits. The truth landed like a blade on glass. She crumbled, clutching the porch rail as the rain soaked her hair, her mascara, her pride. The paramedic turned away. He couldn't watch. I could, because I'd watched her laugh once as I almost died. Now I watched her realize what living with guilt really meant. She didn't follow me when I left. The rain drowned her sobs. The forest took the sound. I drove without direction, the wipers sweeping away her memory with every pass. There was no satisfaction, no victory, just balance. Some people call it closure. I call it silence. As the headlights caught the edge of the road, I looked at my hands, steady, clean, unshaking for the first time in years. They'd once reached for her. Now they only held the wheel. I didn't look back. She had her ghosts now. I had mine. And both of us finally got what we deserved. Some pranks just take longer to finish.